At Thanksgiving dinner, my brother slapped my hand away from the last roll and yelled, "You don't deserve seconds after the mess you made of your life." Everyone went silent as he smirked and added, "I mean, who even loses 2 jobs in 1 year? Maybe you should just move back in with mom and admit you're a failure." I picked up my bag to leave, but then Grandma stood up and said something that left the whole table gasping. I guess I should have known Thanksgiving would end in disaster. It always kind of teeters on the edge when my family gets together. But this one went over the edge, fell off a cliff, and lit itself on fire on the way down. It was at my older brother Caleb's house in Denton, Texas. He's always been the golden boy. Married by 26, house by 28, 3 kids, and a fancy job in finance. Meanwhile, I've been struggling. I lost my job at a startup earlier this year when the company folded. Then another job I picked up doing tech support got outsourced just a few months later. I've been doing odd freelance gigs, just barely scraping by. So going to Thanksgiving, I already felt out of place. But I went anyway. I didn't want to give anyone another reason to talk about me behind my back. I brought a pie from the grocery store. I couldn't afford to make anything fancy. I was quiet, helped set the table, tried to stay out of the way. I even laughed when Uncle Frank made the same tired joke about inflation giving him indigestion. Everything was going okay until dinner. It was near the end of the meal. The turkey was picked clean, the stuffing bowl scraped down to the crumbs. One dinner roll left in the basket. I was hungry, hadn't eaten all day, was saving up for the feast. So I reached for it. That's when it happened. Caleb slapped my hand. Hard. Not playful. Not funny. Just smacked it out of the way. He laughed. "You don't deserve seconds after the mess you made of your life." The table went quiet. Every fork froze. My face burned. "Caleb, what the hell?" I started. He cut me off. "I mean, come on, man. 2 jobs in 1 year? What's the plan now? Move back in with mom? Admit you're a failure?" People stared down at their plates. My aunt coughed into her napkin. Jenna, his wife, didn't even look up. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I stood up, grabbed my coat and my bag. I was done. I wasn't going to stay there and let him humiliate me in front of everyone. Not again. And then I heard Grandma's chair creak. She stood slowly, both hands on the table, and looked right at Caleb. "You want to talk about failure?" she said, voice calm but sharp. "Let's talk about who really failed this family." Caleb rolled his eyes. "Oh, Grandma, come on," she pointed a finger at him. "You shut your mouth. You think you're better than your brother because you have a big house and a savings account? You think that makes you a man?" His jaw clenched. "I didn't say that. You didn't have to," she snapped. "You've been treating him like garbage for years just to make yourself feel taller. You've always needed someone to kick down. And now you're getting sloppy." She turned to Jenna. "Sweetheart, you want to ask your husband about the second mortgage he took out on this house?" Jenna's eyes snapped up. "What?"
Yeah.
"He didn't tell you, did he? He took out another loan behind your back. Invested it all in that fake crypto nonsense. Lost most of it, too." Jenna stared at Caleb, like he'd grown a second head. "Is that true?" He didn't answer. "Tell her," Grandma pressed. "Be a man and tell your wife what you did." "I was going to fix it," Caleb mumbled. "I had a plan." "You always have a plan," she said. "Just like when you borrowed 10 grand from me 3 years ago and never paid it back." People around the table started whispering. "Yeah, that's right," Grandma continued. "You all thought Caleb had it together. He was just better at hiding his mess. Meanwhile, this one," she pointed to me, "he's had a rough year. But he's been honest.
He's tried."
That's more than I can say for some of you." I sat back down.
I didn't know what to say.
No one did. "I've watched this family pretend everything is fine while Caleb runs his mouth and treats everyone like dirt," Grandma said. "I'm done pretending." No one touched their food after that. Jenna stood up, shaking. Her voice came out quiet, but it cracked like glass. "You took out a second mortgage and didn't tell me?" she asked, staring at Caleb like he was someone she didn't know. "It wasn't like that," Caleb said quickly. "I was going to surprise you. I thought I could double it in a few months and pay it off. You wouldn't have even known." Jenna laughed. Not a happy laugh, more like a short, sharp burst of disbelief. Oh, I wouldn't have known? You're gambling with our home, and that's supposed to be okay because you had a plan? I did it for us. Caleb shouted.
No.
You did it because you're greedy, she snapped. You always need to be the smartest person in the room. You think if you make enough money, no one will see what a liar you really are. The room was dead quiet again, but this time it felt different. Heavy. Ugly. My mom finally broke the silence. She leaned forward, her voice low. Is this true, Caleb? Did you really lose money and lie to Jenna? He looked down at his plate. I don't believe this, she muttered. All these years, I thought you had your life together. Grandma wasn't done. And that's the problem, she said. We praised Caleb for being successful and punished anyone who didn't fit into that perfect little box. And now look at us. Look at this family. My dad, who'd been mostly silent all night, suddenly spoke up. You know what's funny, he said, shaking his head. We never asked why he lost those jobs. Just assumed he was lazy. But we never questioned why Caleb's money always came with strings and silence. Dad, what are you talking about? I asked, confused. He looked at me and sighed. I knew about the crypto. Caleb asked me for money when it went south. I didn't give it to him, but I should have said something sooner. Caleb slammed his fist on the table. Why is everyone acting like I'm the bad guy? I worked my ass off for this house, for this life. While he pointed at me, sat around playing video games and blaming everyone else for his problems. I stood up again. I'd had enough. You think I wanted this year to go the way it did? I said, my voice shaking. You think it's fun living paycheck to paycheck, feeling like a loser every damn day? At least I didn't lie to the people I care about. I didn't lie, he yelled. Yes, you did, Jenna said, stepping away from the table. You lied every day. You didn't tell me the truth. She turned to Grandma. How long have you known? Grandma didn't flinch. Since June. He called asking for help when the market crashed.
Said it was a mistake.
Begged me not to tell anyone. I agreed if he came clean. He never did. Jenna walked out of the room. The kids, thankfully, had gone to the den after dinner, watching a movie. They hadn't heard all this, but they'd know something was wrong soon. Caleb stood there, looking lost. No one rushed to comfort him. No one said anything. Then Grandma turned to me again. You are going to leave, she said softly. Don't. Not tonight. I looked around the room. Everything felt broken. Everyone looked smaller somehow. Even Caleb, who used to seem like this giant shadow over my life, now just looked hollow. I sat back down slowly. Grandma poured herself a glass of wine, took a long sip, then said quietly, There's more. But I don't know if this family can handle the rest. My mom's head snapped up. What do you mean more? She asked. Grandma didn't answer right away. She just looked at Caleb, and then at my dad. And that silence felt like the beginning of a storm. Grandma set her wine glass down gently, like she was trying not to crack the air that had already gone thin in the room. There's more, she repeated. And maybe it's time it all came out. My dad frowned. What are you talking about, Ma? She didn't answer him directly.
She turned to me.
You always wondered why your brother got the easy path, she said. Why he got support and praise, while you had to fight for every little thing. I nodded slowly. Of course I had. It was the silent question I carried for years. Well, Grandma said, looking tired now, it wasn't just favoritism. Not the way you think. Dad stood. Ma, don't. She looked right at him. They deserve to know. Don't what? I asked, staring between them. Grandma gave me a sad little smile. Your brother's not your full brother. I blinked. What? Mom gasped. What the hell are you saying? Caleb's father isn't your husband, Grandma said, looking at Mom now. It happened years ago. You and Paul were separated for a bit. Only a few months. You'd had a fight, he moved out for a while, and there was someone else. You thought it was over. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. My mom stared at Grandma like she'd just dropped a live grenade on the table. You told me you took that secret to your grave. I lied, Grandma said, voice flat, because I saw what it was doing to everyone, and I wanted to protect you.
But now?
Now I think the lies are what's killing this family. Caleb looked stunned.
Wait.
What are you saying? Dad's not my father? Grandma nodded. You were raised by Paul. He loved you like his own. But biologically?
No.
You have a different father. My dad sat back down, rubbing his face with both hands. I found out after you were born. Your mom told me. I forgave her because I loved her. And I raised you. I chose to be your dad. Caleb stood there, mouth open. This doesn't make sense. That's why we were always so soft with you, Grandma said, looking ashamed. You were this piece of a broken past we tried to hide. I thought if we gave you more, praised you more, it would make up for the lie. I sat back in my chair, head spinning. So let me get this straight, I said. You all bent over backward to protect Caleb, not because he was doing everything right, but because you were hiding something? No one answered. You let him walk around like he was the king of the family, I said. He treated me like garbage. And you just let him. Tears welled up in my mom's eyes. We didn't know how to stop it. Grandma sighed. And now look where it got us. Caleb sat down, suddenly looking very small. His whole world had just cracked in half. He mumbled. So, who is my father? Grandma shook her head.
He's gone.
He died years ago. He never knew about you. And I think your mother was hoping you'd never find out. The silence stretched again. Jenna came back into the room just then, eyes red, holding her phone. I just talked to a lawyer, she said, her voice stiff. We'll talk later. But we're going to need to go over everything. Every loan, every account. If there's anything else you're hiding, tell me now. Caleb just shook his head, stunned. I didn't know any of this. Jenna didn't sit back down. Grandma looked at me again. I'm sorry. I know this doesn't fix anything. No, I said quietly. But it makes everything make a lot more sense. Then Dad leaned forward, face pale. There's one more thing you don't know about Caleb. And this one's going to hurt too. Everyone turned toward him. What now? I asked. Dad looked at Grandma, then back at me. Remember that freelance gig you lost in October? He said. That IT contract with the warehouse company? My blood ran cold.
Yeah.
They said they went with someone else last minute. Dad swallowed hard. That company was managed by an investment group Caleb consults for. He saw your name on the contract list and told them not to hire you. I stared at Caleb. You what? Caleb didn't even try to deny it. His face went white. I didn't think you'd fit in, he muttered. I thought it'd be awkward. You sabotaged me? I yelled. You saw me struggling, and you still took that from me? No one moved. No one breathed. I wasn't even angry anymore. I felt empty. And that silence sat on the room like a body waiting to be buried. I didn't yell. I didn't flip the table or throw a chair. I just stood up. My voice was calm, but every word felt like a brick dropping. You know, Caleb, I said, for years I blamed myself for not being good enough, for not being like you. But now I see I never had a chance. Because you were never playing fair. He looked down, silent. You lied, you manipulated people, you stepped on your own family to keep that image. But the truth? You were always scared of being found out. And now you are. I turned to Grandma. Thank you for telling the truth. Even if it's late. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I should have done it years ago. Mom looked wrecked. She had her head in her hands, like she couldn't believe what this dinner had become. Maybe she couldn't. Dad just looked tired. Jenna spoke next, sharp and cold. The kids and I are staying at my sister's tonight. Don't call. I'll let the lawyers talk to you from now on. Caleb's head shot up. Jenna, wait. But she was already walking to the hallway, grabbing her purse. Don't, she said without looking back. You had years to come clean. And you didn't. This isn't one mistake. It's a pattern. The front door slammed shut behind her. Caleb just sat there, surrounded by food no one would ever touch again. His plate still full, his fork untouched, the silence pressing down like a weight. I grabbed my coat, walked past him, and paused at the door. I lost jobs. I made mistakes. But I never stabbed my family in the back, I said. I'll take being broke over being you any day. I walked out. The fallout didn't stop there. Jenna filed for separation a week later. Turns out Caleb had more debt than anyone knew. Not just the mortgage, credit cards, shady loans, even some missed tax payments. She was furious, and rightly so. She called every bank, every lawyer she could find. He tried to lie his way out of it again. Then beg. Then threaten to take the kids. But it was over. He wasn't just broke.
He was exposed.
My parents went quiet after that. They didn't host Christmas. They didn't call much. I think they were ashamed. Of Caleb. Of themselves. Maybe of me too. I had no job, no real savings, and now I was the only one left in the family without a mask. But I started rebuilding.
Slowly.
In January, I got a job offer from another warehouse firm. The same one I'd originally lost thanks to Caleb. Turns out, someone in HR had heard what happened. The manager quit, and they brought me in to interview again. This time, I got the job. I moved to Fort Worth, started fresh. No handouts. No pretending. And Caleb? Last I heard, he moved into a small apartment outside Denton. Alone. Jenna has full custody. Grandma stopped answering his calls. Dad won't speak to him. Even Mom pulled back. His world shrank to what it always was underneath the surface, just him. As for me, I'm not perfect. I've made plenty of mistakes. I was bitter for a long time, lazy even. But I never tried to destroy anyone. I never sank someone else to stay afloat. And I've learned something now. The truth always comes out. Even if it takes one ruined Thanksgiving to break the dam.